Hi, my name is Avinoam Leonard, and in this video I want to tell you the story of Mr. Wright, a famous medical study or medical case that dated back to 1957 that entails Mr. Wright's remarkable recovery from cancer. Back in 1957 a new drug came into the market, a miracle drug if you will, called Cribiosin. And this story, Mr. Wright's story, is told in the context of this mindset. And the story begins on a Friday afternoon when Dr. Philip West left the hospital for the weekend. He left believing that he would not see his patient Mr. Wright again. Mr. Wright's diagnosis was so grim he was not going to live through the night. His cancer spread throughout his whole body, tumors the size of oranges, fluid pumped from his lungs, his major organs began to fail, and he was depending on an oxygen mask to breathe. Despite his condition, Mr. Wright heard his doctor, Dr. West, was experimenting with this miracle drug and begged to be included in the trial. Even though he was disqualified because he was not expected to live through the night, let alone the 3-month period required for the trial. Nevertheless, Dr. West could not deny the wish of a dying man, and against his better judgment gave Mr. Wright the injection on Friday, never expected to see him again. But he did. As he came back to work Monday morning, he found Mr. Wright very much alive and awake, not only out of bed and very much alive, but his tumors, as the scan has showed, were half the size they were on Friday. Remarkable. You can imagine Dr. West's enthusiasm at the thought that a cure for cancer has been found. He was ecstatic. So of course he rushed to see the other patients who received Cribiosin before the weekend to learn how much they have improved. But he didn't find any other improvement. Mr. Wright was the only one who had such a remarkable improvement. And a long story short, within 10 days Mr. Wright was cancer-free, discharged from the hospital and going home. Dr. West, having realized the drug was ineffective, attributed the remarkable recovery to Mr. Wright's belief in the power of the drug to heal, what we now these days call the placebo effect. But Mr. Wright's health did not last. 2 months later, news came about Cribiosin. A report had surfaced from the FDA suggesting Cribiosin is useless as a cancer treatment, and all its hopeful benefits were disproven. Unfortunately, Mr. Wright have read this literature about the ineffectiveness of Cribiosin, and shortly after, Dr. West have found Mr. Wright readmitted, depressed, suffering a relapse. Now, since the first dose of the ineffective drug worked so well on Mr. Wright, Dr. West decided to take a chance and give him another wonder drug, or give him the same wonder drug again. He told Mr. Wright the relapse was due to the Cribiosin deterioration during shipment, some kind of an excuse. And he told him that he now has a super strength version of this product, and it has actually proven to work after all. Mr. Wright believed he's given this highly concentrated version of the drug, but at the same time he was actually given a shot of sterile water. And the results were just as dramatic as the first treatment. In the words of Dr. West, his tumors melted like snowballs on a hot stove, and Mr. Wright again went home, the picture of health, if you will. Again, he remained cancer-free for over 2 months, until a final report, conclusive report by the American Medical Association and the FDA saying Cribiosin is ineffective. Very sadly, Mr. Wright was readmitted to hospital and died within a few days. Dr. West concluded it was Mr. Wright's optimism and belief in the effectiveness of the drug, and that it would work for him even or despite his dire state, that made the tumors shrink and disappear. In other words, when his optimism ended, his resistance to the disease ended as well. Now we learn from Mr. Wright's case or experience that the mind has power over the body. But this is not breaking news in any way. This is not a new theory. Many cultures have acknowledged this for centuries, and the oldest form of medicine utilized mind over body techniques. But mind over body still focuses on the body. This is what I want you to understand. Mr. Wright's belief in the drug was a belief in a physical change and thus unsustainable over time. According to the psychologist who studied this case, Dr. Klopfer, Mr. Wright's recoveries were not sustainable since they were not reinforced by a deep-rooted personality center, which could have counteracted the catastrophic effect of his disappointment. His belief in the drug allowed for his astonishing recovery, but this recovery was totally dependent on what he heard about the drug. Very important point. What if Mr. Wright was also immune to the outside input from various news sources that told him his treatment had failed? What if? What if Mr. Wright believed in his recovery regardless of the reports about the experimental treatment and the failure? It is possible for us to develop a mind immune to detrimental external influence, just as the body can be immune to disease. It's absolutely possible. In fact, these go hand in hand. And this is what immersive healing, the methodology I developed for the healing of cancer, does. It helps us build this personality, root personality, capacity to believe in ourselves. I can say so much more about it, but if you want to learn more about how you can improve your chances to recover from cancer, visit my website at avinoamlelna.com. There is so much more for you to learn and see right there. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you much health and well-being. Thank you so much.